Beyond the Standard is a production of Accreditation Commission for Healthcare, providers of accreditation services for a wide range of community-based healthcare providers, including home health, pharmacy, DemiPose, home infusion therapy, behavioral health, palliative care, hospice, and renal dialysis, as well as hospitals, laboratories, and ambulatory surgery centers.
Greg Stowell and Karen Spano, thank you so much for being with me today. We're going to talk about a new resource for compounding pharmacies. But before we get into that specifically, I'm hoping, Greg, that you'll touch on how you choose what to develop. ACHCU, which is the division you lead, serves 19 different accreditation programs, and each of those has its own its own language, its own specific requirements, and your offerings range from free webinars to policy and procedure manuals to workshops to multi-day, multi-track conferences. And so this was an encyclopedic undertaking. And I'm just wondering, in general, how do you decide that a new product is needed?
Well, we do have a lot of opportunities to provide educational materials to those 19 programs. And when we looked at what was going on with our PCAB division and these changes to compounding for the USP, really it was based on need. We obviously don't want to spend our time bringing something to an industry that already has resources that would meet that need. And when we looked at the scope of these changes and how it would impact not just PCAB accredited pharmacies, but all compounders, we undertook this project. We started really 2 years ago when those first early drafts came out, and we're happy to say that that has been concluded right now. But really, it was based on need.
So for the non-pharmacists listening today, let's talk for just a moment about USP. Karen, what is it? I mean, I'm most familiar because I see commercials for vitamins on television that say, this is approved by USP. What does that mean? Who are they and what do they do?
USP is the United States Pharmacopoeia, and it is a group of experts in their fields. So for compounding, we are focused on USP chapters 795 for non-sterile compounding, 797 for sterile, and then we also bring in usually 800 for hazardous compounding. And they've come up with standards for how to operate and produce safe compounded preparations for patients and ensure that safety and quality of what we compound is making it to the patient.
They're a standard setting organization, just as ACHC is a standard setting organization. But Karen, you're a pharmacist, and I know that you have overseen quality control and quality assurance, accreditation, and compliance for a multi-site pharmacy organization. And when you hear in that role that USP is making updates or changes, what runs through your head?
That I am going to have to spend hours and months redoing and updating my policy and procedure manual, and not just policies and procedures or standard operating procedures, but also all my competencies to make sure I'm addressing everything that's been changed, and also looking at forms like your cleaning forms and your maintenance forms, your temperature logs and humidity. Are those still going to be in compliance with the new standards that are being released?
So it's a heavy lift.
It's a very heavy lift. It's not something that you can accomplish usually in a month. You can if you assign every person on your staff, if you have a large staff, but if you're a small pharmacy, it's going to take you months to be able to update all those documents.
Well, so Karen, I know that you are the primary author of this resource that we are now presenting to the public, and it took you months to get it prepared, but it was months before that USP kind of, I don't know, did they tease it out? How exactly did this announcement, why did it take so long between the announcement of that there were changes coming and the actual release of those final standards?
What USP does is they release a proposed version of the standards, and that's what we used to start this project. And when they release the proposed standards, they also have a comment period where people can respond back to USP with what they see as potential issues with the new standards that they have come up with. So that comment period was for 6 months, but then of course we kind of got COVID in there, which kind of threw a monkey wrench in everything, and they got hundreds of thousands of comments. So
Really?
and they go through every single one of those comments. So by the time they went through all the comments, it was this year before they actually released the final version. And we were fortunate that when they released the final version, there wasn't that many changes from the proposed version. So all the work that we had done prior, we were able just to make some minor edits and minor changes based on the final version to get these manuals out.
Okay, so Greg, maybe can you tell us what is this tool?
Well, kind of to give you a little bit of the background, we had a group of PCAB surveyors that came to us and said, hey, these changes are going to be large enough to where we really feel like we need to do something to help them understand what these requirements are and then put them into an operational standpoint to where they can actually implement them and follow them so that when we come in as PCAB surveyors that we can help to assess their competence. So this was as you mentioned before, this was a first time that we had looked at putting a tool together that wasn't just PCAB focused. And certainly this manual meets PCAB requirements, but more for the industry at large, for all compounders. We wanted to develop a tool. As I've mentioned, we've been working on it for quite some time, developing good policies, good standard operating procedures, and those kind of things. Karen joined our team about a year ago, and because of her background and where she had been to really try to prepare an organization for this, she then started looking at all of the forms. She started looking at the job description. She started looking at the competencies, and those are things that even if an organization can update their policies and their SOPs and they feel comfortable with that, they're going to benefit from the forms and from the competencies and all the other pieces as well. So this was a really front end to back end look on how do we operationalize these requirements that PCAB is going to meet, USP is requiring now, states are going to probably adopt, including the 800 piece of it as well, USP 800. How do we get that into a group of documents? It's not one document, it's a group of documents that could then help an organization take what they are currently doing and bring that up to standard by obviously the end of this year.
Okay. Well, Karen, I'm a pharmacy that isn't doing hazardous compounding, or I'm not doing sterile compounding. I mean, is this too much for me? Is this more than I need?
What is nice when we put this manual together, and that was something that I realized when I came on and started this project, was I didn't want a manual that was going to be 1,000 pages and 3/4 of it didn't apply to me.
Nobody wants a manual that's 1,000 pages.
So we did this so that it could be broken out and you can purchase and get what you need for your pharmacy. So you can get just sterile compounding, or you can get just non-sterile compounding, or you can get just hazardous if you only do hazardous. And you can combine them. So you can get sterile, hazardous, sterile, non-hazardous. You can get non-sterile, hazardous, and non-sterile, non-hazardous, or if you do all of them, like the pharmacy I came from, we did non-sterile, we did sterile, and we did hazardous, I would be able to get the whole manual.
Got it.
So the manuals are broken down to the type of compounding that you actually do. And the competencies and the forms are broken down the same way.
So Karen, not all pharmacies are going to operationalize things as Greg has characterized it in the same way. And so if I have a policy and procedure or even a documentation of how I'm cleaning things that has already been put together, can it be customized? Can I change it?
Angela, absolutely. This is one of the benefits to this manual that we put together is we made it so organizations can go in and edit it. We're hoping you're not going to have to edit 100% of it, but like you said, no two pharmacies are exactly the same. And ACHC as an organization never wants to promote any particular product. So for example, in the cleaning policy, we list how you should clean and the steps you should take, but I don't list the actual cleaning products that you're going to use. So each pharmacy might want to go in and just edit that policy and put in that for, this cleaning area, we're using this product and this is the dwell time, so that their staff knows when they go in to read and pull that policy, they have exactly what they're supposed to use.
Great. And I'm learning here. I know that's important because in talking to the pharmacy program, I was having them explain to me what gloved fingertip testing is. And one of the examples that was given to me was maybe all of a sudden your results for that start declining and you find out that a cleaning product has changed. And it's all part of your quality improvement process.
Yep.
So you need to document that in your policies and procedures or your SOPs. You need to get into that kind of granular detail.
And this manual does provide you with the forms to help you walk through writing a corrective action plan and putting all that into a performance improvement program. So all those are part of the forms that are all offered.
Excellent. Well, I've had just a little bit of exposure to this tool, and it's something I know there's a lot of excitement around. And to what you said earlier, Greg, the excitement is that it really is meeting a need. One of the other things that I think is interesting here is ACHC talks all the time about being an accrediting organization that leads with education, that has an educational philosophy. But what we're usually talking about there is an approach that when we come in, when we're helping an organization apply, for example, or when our surveyors are going out on site to do the visit, that they're coming with an attitude of not looking for where you're failing, but looking for where you're succeeding and also where there's an opportunity to raise the bar. So we talk about education from an attitudinal perspective. This is really an opportunity to talk about the resources of ACHCU that go beyond that attitude into actual tangible tools and publications and Q&A opportunities with experts. I mean, we don't want our customers to have that attitude that when the surveyors come in, only answer the question that's been asked. Don't ask any question of your own. Am I right about that?
Oh, absolutely. And certainly I agree with you. What PCAB and ACHC has been known for as far as our educational approach is frankly what drew me to ACHC. I was an ACHC accredited organization. I came to ACHC 17 years ago, and it was really because of the whole approach. And Karen's kind of the same way. Karen had the same experience where she'd gone through that. So not to discount that at all. I mean, that is our foundation. That is who we are as an organization. But, our leadership and our our board of directors felt like we need to do more to help organizations that truly want to be compliant with USP and with ACHC standards and PCAB standards. We need to do more in that side of helping in the achieving compliance and then maintaining compliance. So workshops, you mentioned before, that certainly has hundreds, if not thousands of people have been through our workshops over the past now almost 10 years that PCAB has been part of the ACHC family, to our webinars, to other tools that we have available. This was just, to me, a natural progression of the development of a tool that really, whether companies end up being PCAB accredited or not, they will want to be aware of this tool. They'll want to be aware of our standards for PCAB. We know that we've had pharmacies that have followed PCAB standards for a long time that just haven't gone through that process. This tool, I think, is going to be very much the same thing. They are going to want to utilize maybe just the competencies in the forms and the job descriptions which they can get, or they may want to take that entire area of whatever they happen to compound. I just think that it's going to be a time saver, a game changer. And we always talk about patient safety, quality of our compounded medications. And then we also have to look at risk and risk mitigation, having these policies in place and being able to operationalize them within your pharmacy is going to really help to ensure compliance with us, USP, with states, with federal. And it's just going to be such a huge opportunity for organizations to be able to quickly begin to implement these steps that it's going to take to ensure that they're ready come November 1 of this year.
Great. Karen Spano and Greg Stowell, thank you so much. I feel the excitement around this, and I hope our audience goes to ACHCU.com and takes a look at the resource. And of course, any questions that people have, you guys are always available to answer them, as well as other members of your team. So thanks again for taking the time today.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angela.